He didn't wear the armband, didn't lift the cups with a roar, didn't chase the headlines. Mick Jones just showed up and gave everything. While others played for glory, he played for the space between defenders, the scraps, the bruises, the hard yards no one cheered for. He didn't pose, he didn't point, he just made the run. Again and again and again. They sang for Clark. They painted Lorimer. They followed Giles. But Jones, he made them all possible. He once walked up the Wembley steps with a dislocated elbow because nothing meant more than showing up for his team. No badge kiss, no demand for thanks, just Mick, the spine of Elland Road, and the reason others got to shine. Subscribe if you still believe the greatest players weren't always the loudest, but the ones who never looked away. Mick Jones was born on 24th April 1945 in the coal mining village of Share Oaks, Nottinghamshire. A place where boots were scuffed, not signed, where the only thing louder than silence was the shift bell at the pit. There was no dream of footballing fame, only work. And Jones learned early that those who survived didn't talk much, they just got on with it. At school, he stood out. Not because he wanted to, but because the ball always listened to him. Strong shoulders, no nonsense stride, and a face that didn't flinch in cold weather. In 1962, at just 16, he signed for Sheffield United, a hard club for a hard lad. By 1963, he made his debut barely 18 and already fearless. Sheffield United manager John Harris would later call selling him the biggest mistake the club had ever made. Over the next 4 seasons, he played 149 league matches and scored 63 goals. Not flashy, not desperate to impress, just precise, clinical, unshakable. He became their leading forward, trusted in every match, quiet in every post-match interview. And far across Yorkshire, one man was watching. Don Revie. Because Revie wasn't looking for a name, he was looking for a weapon. And Mick Jones, he fit the blueprint. In September 1967, Leeds United paid £100,000 to sign Mick Jones. A club record fee. But he didn't act like it. No interviews, no headlines, just a handshake and a quiet promise to go to war. He made his Leeds debut the same month, slotted in like he'd always been there. No nerves, no noise, just hard yards. Harris's words came true. Fast Jones scored on debut for Leeds and never looked back. Don Revie didn't need a showman. He needed structure, someone who would suffer for the shape so others could shine inside it. Jones became the heartbeat no one heard. He didn't chase the ball, he moved defenders. Didn't ask for passes, he created the gaps that made them possible. Soon, he was partnered with Alan Clark. One sharp, one silent. But together, they moved like they shared a brain. Jones didn't take goals he gave them. He dragged centre-halves into the dirt so Clark could finish clean. He took the bruises so Lorimer and Giles could play in peace. Inside the club, they called him the thinking bruiser. A striker with a midfielder's brain and a centre-half's soul. He wasn't a name on a billboard, but he became the reason the others were. And by the end of that first full season, he wasn't just a signing. He was a system. In 1968-69, Leeds United became champions of England for the first time in their history. Mick Jones scored 14 league goals that season, each one earned in boots covered in bruises. He didn't celebrate much, just turned away and ran back into position. While Clark finished chances and Lorimer bent in thunder, Jones softened every defense before them. He didn't get the glory, he made it possible. The rewards came quickly. Intercity's Fairs Cup in 1971. Another deep run in Europe. Another set of wounds that didn't make the papers. He helped Leeds lift the League Cup and Fairs Cup double in 1968 and the Fairs Cup again in 1971. But it was 1972 that turned him into something else. FA Cup Final, Wembley, Leeds versus Arsenal. The game was tight, fierce, ugly. Jones started up front and did what he always did, create space, take hits, carry the weight. Then late in the match, he went down under a brutal challenge. Dislocated elbow, agony in real time. He couldn't move it, couldn't even walk straight. But when Leeds won 1-0, he refused the stretcher. He climbed those Wembley steps with Norman Hunter holding him up and took his medal with his good arm and a face that didn't ask for sympathy. Moments earlier, his looping cross found Alan Clark's head, the goal that sealed the cup. That image, Jones broken, Hunter loyal, Leeds triumphant, became the photograph of the Revie era. Not pretty, not poetic, just proud. That's who he was. By 1973, the pain was permanent. The knees, battered from years of self-sacrifice, began to fail him. But Mick Jones wasn't done yet. Not while there was a match to play. Not while there was one more run to make. He pushed through the 1973-74 season, dragging himself across the pitch as Leeds United marched to another First Division title. He scored when he could, set up when he couldn't, and never once asked to be excused. But the decline couldn't be denied. The movement slowed. The recovery never came. By early 1975, he was out of the first team, a name in the reserves, a body that once bullied defenders now battling itself. Then came the final blow, the 1975 European Cup final. Leeds had reached the summit, but Mick Jones wasn't even in the squad, not even on the bench. No goodbye, no farewell run-out, just silence. He retired quietly that same year, aged just 30. No quotes, no headlines, no final wave. Across all competitions, he played 313 games and scored 111 goals for Leeds. But those numbers don't carry the bruises. Don't capture the miles. Don't tell you what he left behind. Because when Mick Jones walked away, Leeds never truly replaced him. Mick Jones didn't have murals, didn't lead out England at Wembley, didn't hold press conferences in retirement. But inside the Leeds United dressing room, he was sacred. Don Revie called him the bravest and most dedicated of professionals. A man who never ducked a challenge, never missed a run, and never needed reminding what the badge meant. Johnny Giles put it simpler. Mick made the scorers. He didn't care who got the credit. He cared that the job got done. No stats could measure his timing. No cameras caught the unselfish decoys. No charts could explain the way he turned defenders inside out and let the headlines go to someone else. Between 1965 and 1970, he earned 3 England caps but never scored. He didn't need goals to prove anything. He made his debut on the 12th of May, 1965, against West Germany. His final England appearance came in January 1970 versus Wales. He never pushed for more. He didn't need the validation. He already had the respect that matters more than headlines, the respect of men who knew what it took to bleed for something bigger than yourself. Because Mick Jones wasn't built for fame. He was built for trust. And trust is legacy. After football, Mick Jones went back to something normal. No coaching tours, no pundit's microphone, just a small garage business in Barnsley. Spanners, oil, and the same silence that once filled Elland Road. Customers saw a polite man with strong hands. Few realized those hands once steadied a broken elbow as he climbed the Wembley steps. There was no statue unveiled, no chant re-recorded. But in Leeds, his name moved like smoke back through the pubs, across the terraces, through the homes where fathers told sons what loyalty used to look like. They didn't need a tribute video. They had the memory of the runs, the bruises, the day at Wembley when he climbed the steps with one arm broken and pride bursting through the other. Quiet, dignified, unforgettable. He didn't roar, didn't gesture, didn't soak in the spotlight. Mick Jones just showed up and did everything. He gave Leeds the space to win, the muscle to endure, the silence that made the noise around him possible. He never made it about himself. Not in 1969 when they won the title. Not in 1972 when his arm was ruined and he climbed those Wembley steps anyway. Not in 1975 when he retired without a goodbye. Alan Clark once said, "Mick made my job easy. I owe him more goals than I can count, because he was never chasing legacy. He was legacy. No murals, no marketing, just teammates who never forgot. And a fan base that still lowers its voice when they say his name. Mick Jones, the spine of Elland Road, the striker who gave more than goals." Subscribe if you still believe football's greatest men weren't the ones who shouted the loudest, but the ones who never looked away.